I woke up from a car accident with a different face, a different name, and a woman claiming to be my wife. She said we were married. She said we had a daughter, but nothing felt right. I don't even know how to start this. Maybe with the fact that, for the past 8 years, I thought I was a man named Mark, a husband, a father, a guy who fixed sinks and forgot anniversaries. Now, I'm not even sure what the hell I am anymore. I, 36 million, married my wife, Jen, 10 years ago. We were that couple everyone hated for being too in sync. Same humor, same taste in food, even the same guilty pleasure TV shows. We finished each other's sentences. Literally. When we decided to have a kid, things got harder. Miscarriages, fertility treatments, the whole depressing circus. But then one day, it just worked. Our daughter Ellie was born 2 months early. Tiny, fragile, but perfect. I was in awe. Holding her for the first time felt like watching your heart sprout legs and wander off. She was my reason for breathing. Except now I know she never should have existed. It started about a year ago. I began getting migraines, intense ones, memory gaps. I'd forget conversations, lose hours. Jen said I was stressed, maybe depressed, but it got worse. I'd find myself in places I didn't remember going to, wearing clothes I didn't remember buying. Once, I woke up in the passenger seat of my own car, parked outside a motel I'd never been to. I thought I was losing my mind. So I did what you do when you're scared. I went to therapy. That's when things got strange. During one hypnotherapy session, my therapist asked me to visualize a memory of joy. I saw Ellie's birth, but I wasn't Mark. I wasn't even male. I was lying in a hospital bed, sweaty and crying. I was the one giving birth. I sat up screaming. After that session, I spiraled, started digging through old journals, files, photos. Only there weren't any. No baby photos of me, no childhood records, no birth certificate that didn't look suspiciously like a copy of a copy. I confronted Jen. She froze, said, "I was wondering how long it would take." That's when she told me. I was never Mark. I was Maria. We'd been in a relationship for 3 years when I got pregnant. Then came the accident, a horrible car crash, coma, brain trauma. When I woke up, I didn't remember her, or myself. I kept calling myself Mark, a character from some TV show I used to watch obsessively. She played along at first, thinking it was temporary, but the longer it went, the more permanent it seemed. And the truth? She liked Mark more than Maria. Mark was stable, confident, emotionally open in a way Maria never was. She didn't correct me. She leaned into it. And when I fully adopted the identity, she helped me transition. Surgically, legally, entirely. She never told me I'd given birth to Ellie. She let me believe I was her father. I'm writing this now from a tiny apartment I barely remember renting. After Jen told me, I left. I couldn't breathe around her. I felt like my body didn't belong to me, like my soul had been hijacked into someone else's movie. Sometimes I stare at myself in the mirror for hours, trying to see Maria, trying to see Mark, but all I see is a stranger who was betrayed by the one person who claimed to love them most. I don't know who I am. I don't know who I was. And the worst part, I still love them both, Jen and Ellie, even after everything, especially after everything. After I left, I lived in a kind of fog. I told people I was on sabbatical or between things, but really I was hiding. From January, from Ellie, from my own damn reflection. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw hospital lights, heard the scream, my scream, from that therapy session. I kept telling myself it wasn't real. Maybe it was some false memory. Maybe Jen was lying. Maybe my therapist implanted something. The mind does strange things under trauma. But then I found the USB drive. It was taped under the drawer of my old desk in our garage. I don't know what compelled me to look. Maybe instinct. Maybe a whisper from some version of myself I'd forgotten. There were folders, pre-accident, Ellie, transition inside, photos, videos of me, Maria, pregnant, glowing, laughing into the camera while Jen rubbed my belly. There was one video. I almost couldn't watch it. I was talking to the camera, teary-eyed. If you're seeing this, you probably forgot who you are. Maybe completely, maybe just pieces. But you're me, and I'm real. And Ellie is ours, I screamed, loud enough for the neighbors to bang on the wall. I didn't answer, because how do you tell someone you just met yourself for the first time, and you don't like what you see? It took me 3 weeks to reach out to Jen. I asked her to bring Ellie to a public park, neutral ground. I couldn't walk into that house again. When they arrived, Ellie ran to me, like nothing had changed, because for her, nothing had. "Daddy, you smell like peanut butter again," she giggled, and I almost broke in two. We sat. I watched Jen, but she didn't speak first. So I asked, "Did you love Maria?" She nodded, slowly, carefully. But I didn't know how to reach her. After the accident, you didn't come back. You were someone else, someone happier. So you let me disappear? She didn't flinch. I thought I was saving you. I couldn't answer. I just looked at Ellie, sitting on the grass, pulling petals off a dandelion. "She knows," I said. "Somehow, she knows I'm both." Jen started to cry. "She's always known. She used to say, 'Daddy feels like Mommy inside sometimes.'" I didn't correct her. I started therapy again, real therapy this time. Not the kind you do to appease your spouse. The diagnosis was dissociative identity disturbance, complicated by traumatic amnesia. Basically, I cracked, and then rebuilt myself with pieces from something fictional. And Jen let it happen. But that doesn't mean what I became isn't real. Mark exists. And so does Maria. I'm both. And neither. I've started writing letters to Ellie. One from Mark, one from Maria. I don't know when she'll read them, but one day she'll need the truth from both of her parents. Jen and I talk weekly, carefully, honestly, for the first time in years, I think. And I'm considering the unthinkable. Reintegration. Letting myself be one again. Not Mark, not Maria. Just me. Last night, I looked in the mirror and didn't flinch. I saw the scar near my collarbone, from the accident. I saw the faint stretch marks. I saw tired eyes, but eyes that knew. Not everything is clear yet. Not everything ever will be. But I'm starting to understand something. The truth didn't destroy me. The lies did. And maybe, just maybe, telling the story, this story, is how I begin again. It started with a voicemail. A woman's voice. Shaky, unsure. "Maria, if you're still there, I need to talk to you. It's your mother. Please don't hang up. Just please call me back." I didn't even know I had a mother still alive. Jen never talked about her. In my mind, Maria had no family. She had vanished. I called back. My hand was shaking the entire time. She picked up on the second ring. "Maria?" My voice cracked. "It's me." Or the closest thing. She cried. Hard, not gentle grief. Howling sorrow, like someone who had truly buried a daughter. Because she had. She arrived the next day. Gray coat. Tight grip on a handbag like it was a life preserver. She didn't say hello. She handed me an envelope. Inside, a copy of a death certificate. My name, Maria Ellis. Date of death? 4 weeks after the accident. Cause, complications following a traumatic brain injury. She said they declared me dead after I was moved to a private neuro facility Jen paid for. My body was listed as donated for medical research. A formality, since Mark had emerged and refused visitors. "I begged Jen to let me see you," she whispered. She said Maria was gone, that someone else was in there, that bringing me in would only confuse things. I didn't know whether to scream or throw up. She pointed at my chest, trembling. "You were my daughter, and someone killed her by pretending you never existed." I confronted Jen. I showed her the certificate, asked her what the hell she was thinking. She didn't deny it. "I didn't know how to explain it to your mother. I was protecting you. You were fragile. And selfishly, I was terrified she'd take you away." She looked broken, like she had been unraveling for months and was finally too tired to fake it. "I never wanted to erase Maria. I just couldn't lose Mark, too." I told her I needed time. But time is a lie when your very self is a question mark. I thought I could protect Ellie from this. I was wrong. She walked into the room while I was staring at the certificate, picked it up, read it. "She's 8, but smart. Too smart. That's your name, Daddy, but it says you're dead." I didn't lie. I told her. Part of me was. But another part stayed alive to find you. She didn't cry. She just hugged me. Then I'm glad that part stayed. I don't care if you're Daddy or Mommy. You're mine. This is probably the last part I'll post. I've started legal proceedings to undo the declaration of death, to reclaim my name. Both of them. Mark Ellis, Maria Ellis. Same person, same life. Jen and I are separating. Not out of hate, out of necessity. We both need to figure out who we are without our lies. Ellie stays with me 3 days a week. She's the only thing that feels real now. The only thing that always did. As for my mother, we're trying. Slowly, cautiously, like people walking on a frozen lake. Sometimes I look at that certificate and feel nothing. Other times I feel rage so hot I think I'll burn through the floor. But I'm alive. God help me, I'm alive. And for the first time in a decade, I know it. Subject line: "You can't just come back from the dead without consequences." At first I thought it was spam, but then I opened the attachment. It was a photo of me. From years ago. In a hospital gown, hooked to machines. A nurse holding a clipboard with the name Maria Ellis clearly visible. Then came another photo. Mark, well-dressed, clean-shaven, talking to Jen outside our old therapy center. Time-stamped. Dated a week after I was declared legally dead. Then came the message: "You can't hide behind trauma forever. Either you pay, or the world sees what you've buried. I want $50,000. I know where your daughter goes to school." I didn't breathe for a full minute. The air left my lungs like I'd been sucker punched. Then adrenaline kicked in. I checked every lock, rechecked, called Ellie's school and put in a temporary pickup lockdown, filed a police report. Useless. They said there was no imminent danger. Then I called Jen. She came over, silent, pale. I showed her the email. She stared for a long time, then said, "I think I know who it is. Dr. Joel Lehman. He ran the facility Jen sent me to after the accident. She trusted him. She paid him. He signed off on the treatment that helped suppress Maria's identity. And, apparently, he kept copies, photos, records, maybe even videos. Jen admitted he became erratic a few years ago, lost his license, financial trouble. She hadn't heard from him since, but clearly, he hadn't forgotten us." "Why didn't you destroy those files?" I demanded. "I thought he did," she whispered. "He told me you didn't want a past. I thought he was protecting you." I could have slapped her. Instead, I said, "Then you're helping me fix it." Stupid? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. I had to see the face of the man who tried to erase me, and now wanted to expose me. We met in a parking garage. His idea. Cliché. He looked old, tired, but his voice still dripped with that calm clinical superiority. "You're not well," he said. "You think being both people makes you whole? You're unstable, a danger to your child." I held up my phone, recording. "Then say that again, louder, into the mic, please." He paused, then smiled. "You always were smarter than your wife gave you credit for." I went to a lawyer the next day, gave them the full story, the threats, the documents, the recordings. They advised filing a civil suit, maybe even criminal charges. But if I did that, everything would come out. Every detail. Maria, Mark, the accident, the reinvention, Ellie's birth, and the internet never forgets. So I made a different move. I offered him something he couldn't resist. Silence. In exchange for every file he had. Hard copies, digital, every trace of me. He accepted, took the money, vanished. And I watched a part of my own history burn in a barrel behind my house. I should be angry. Maybe I still am, but mostly I feel clean, like the weight of 2 lives pressed into one has finally stopped crushing me. Ellie is safe. Jen is something between an ex-wife and a partner in trauma, and me? I'm just trying to be someone whole, for once. This will probably be my last update. Not because the story's over, but because I'm finally writing my own chapters now, and they don't begin with pain anymore. They begin with, today I woke up, and I wasn't afraid. I should have felt relief after Lehman disappeared. I should have slept like a baby knowing the files were gone, that the threat had passed. But I didn't. Instead, I started having dreams. No, memories, really. Little things. Flickers. The sound of my laugh when I was still Maria. The way my mother used to braid my hair. A ring I used to wear on my right hand. A small silver one with a turquoise stone. And then there was her. Not Jen, the other woman. I didn't remember her name. Not at first. Just flashes. A coffee shop. A window seat. Hands held under a scarf on cold winter mornings. Then one night, I woke up at 2 a.m. and whispered it out loud. Renee. The second I said it, something clicked. I went digging. Old photos Jen had stored in a hard drive marked old stuff. I never looked through it before. I was too afraid of what I'd see. But there she was. Renee. A wide smile. Dark curls. That same turquoise ring on her finger. Mine, actually. In the next photo, me, Maria, kissing her cheek. We looked so happy I wanted to cry and scream at the same time. I confronted Jen again, not with anger, just confusion. Why didn't you ever tell me about her? She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, because you didn't want to remember her. That didn't feel true. Not anymore. I started searching for Renee. I didn't know what I wanted. Closure, apology, clarity. I found her 3 weeks later. She ran an art studio 2 states over. I showed up unannounced. My hands were trembling as I knocked on the glass. She looked up and froze. For 5 full seconds, we just stared at each other. Then she walked over, opened the door. Maria? Her voice cracked on my name. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. She invited me in. We sat in the back room behind a curtain that smelled like old paint and eucalyptus. I thought you were dead, she whispered. I was, kind of, I said. But I'm here now. She started crying. I did too. We talked for 3 hours, about who I used to be, about the accident, about Jennifer, about Ellie. She told me we had been planning to move in together, that Jen never knew, that we were waiting until I was ready to come out to everyone. I felt like my body wasn't big enough to hold the grief I'd buried. Before I left, she kissed me on the forehead. I don't know who you are now, she said, but I'm glad you found me again. I drove home in silence. No music, no distractions. Just the sound of tires against pavement and a growing sense that maybe, just maybe, I had one more piece of myself back. When I got home, Ellie was asleep on the couch, curled up in one of my old sweaters. Jen had let herself in again. She was cleaning up in the kitchen. I saw your face when you left today, she said quietly. It was the first time I recognized Maria in years. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to argue about, nothing left to reclaim. I picked up Ellie and carried her to bed. As I laid her down, she opened one sleepy eye and whispered, "Did you find the missing part?" I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I think I did." She smiled and drifted off. So did I. Not into sleep, but into being whole. Years passed. Ellie's laugh got deeper. Her questions got sharper. She grew into a version of herself that reminded me, painfully, beautifully, of both of us. Of Maria. Of Mark. One evening, just before her 13th birthday, she came into my room with a notebook. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." She sat beside me, legs crossed like she was bracing for something heavy. "I was working on that family tree project for school," she began. "And there are blank spaces. You and Mom filled in what you could, but I want the real version." I didn't pretend not to understand. She was old enough now, and I'd promised myself, if she ever asked, I'd tell the truth, not all at once, but enough. "Okay," I said. "Let's start with this. I wasn't always the me you know now." Her eyebrows lifted, but she stayed quiet. "There was a time I lived with a different name, a different face, a different everything." "Like a secret identity?" she asked, half joking. "Not secret, just lost." I told her about the accident, the coma, the confusion, the transition. I kept it gentle. No Lehman, no blackmail, not yet. But I told her about Maria, about Mark, about how both were real, and both were me. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "That sounds hard." It was. But it also sounds brave. I choked back tears. "You're not mad?" I asked. She shook her head. "Why would I be? You're you. That's what matters." Then she hugged me, tighter than she had in years. Later that night, I stood in the hallway, watching her through a cracked door as she scribbled in her notebook. I knew more questions would come, and I was ready. Because the worst part of my life, the darkest, most confusing, most broken part, had become the thing that allowed me to finally be honest. With her. With myself. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not fixing what was. Not pretending it didn't break. But standing in the wreckage and still choosing to live.